Hi, Gravel by California here in the San Gabriel Mountains to give you a tour of one of the most intriguing and historic rides in the Los Angeles area, Mount Lowe Road. The main attraction here is the turn-of-the-century railway, which was abandoned long ago, but still has many artifacts and historical markers that make you relive this whole era. One thing that is clear is you'll have to put in a stiff effort, as this 10-mile climb has some challenges on the way up to the railway. There's a few options if you want to turn a Mount Lowe excursion into a loop, but I started out in La Cañada to circle back on Angeles Crest Highway. I decided to connect via Altadena, where you look for the flashing beacon off of Loma Vista to begin my adventure. I'm starting my way up the Cheney Trail. It's not the most fun way up, but it's the most direct. As you can see, I'm already sweating. When you connect to Mount Lowe Road, you have a number of other trail options in front of you heading east around the gate. The lower portion of Mount Lowe Road is paved, which doesn't necessarily make it easier. It's definitely steeper to accommodate cars. It's not here to enjoy. It's definitely easy to see a lot of scenery as you'll be going so slow. And if you look closely, you'll catch Mueller Falls. From Sunset Ridge, you'll have to survive over 2 miles of this climb, averaging nearly 11%, until you reach the more forgiving dirt, and the adventure really begins. Another really good tip as you're coming up here is to bring a little extra clothes. You start to get deep into the canyons, you can definitely get a lot colder, especially when you hit the Mount Wilson area. In most cases, pavement is easier to climb than dirt, but not here with Mount Lowe, as the pitch is almost double on concrete, which causes some to turn back. Once you reach the Cape of Good Hope, you finally come across the Alpine division of the Mount Lowe Railway. Right now, this area is about a mile east of the start, which is over at Echo Mountain, which originally had a funicular take you up, and then this was a 7-mile railroad that took you all the way up to Alpine Tavern. When you take a look at the route that it took along the ridge, it's very serpentine and on the edge, and it probably gets worse a little further up. Right around here, the train actually goes around the Cape of Good Hope all the way back up the mountains. The climb to Alpine Tavern is well paced, covering 3 miles at 5.5%. Right off the bat, history is in your eyes, as you'll see remnants of the retaining wall supporting the road. The signage adds special details that brings Mount Lowe even more back to life, such as this old stop taking passengers down a trail to Don Mine. You can't help but stop, especially with the number of placards that match views from the original images. My favorite section is obvious, as the oddity of this peculiarly placed hairpin catches your attention. Every time I ride by that circular bridge, I find it hard to believe that it was built 10 years before the San Francisco earthquake in 1906. I mean, how scary is that? It shocks me they had the wherewithal to build a structure such as this in the 19th century. Making me ask, how much of this journey was supposed to be a thrill ride? Riding a little deeper, urban life gets subtracted out, tying you to the reality they once had 100 years ago. Another landmark of questionable aspirations is Granite Gap, as somehow the railway would nudge its way within the rocks, with the original catenary pole still visible. With another mile to go, you're wedged in the canyon, where, for all seasons, you'll find the zone among the coolest. It's very easy to get tunnel vision and miss the turnoff for the must-see site of Alpine Tavern. The most recognizable surviving feature is the retaining wall of the lodge. But look around and you'll find even more casements for the railway and other structures. Built in 1896, the Secluded Attraction is another lost relic, as it fell victim to fire in 1936. It's not the end of the line here. Just a quarter mile up the road, you hit an intersection with a number of trail options. Just a quarter mile up the road, you hit an intersection with a number of trail options. But it's worth taking the short diversion up to Inspiration Point. While a good part of the year you might be fogged in, it's still worth taking in this rebuilt structure, noting the fixed position telescopes pointing at landmarks from days of yore, and ones that still grace us today. Returning back and continuing up Mount Lowe Road, this newer section is surprisingly a rougher climb. While the grade is slightly worse, the issue with the next 2 3/4 miles of climbing is the rockier conditions of the surface. Descending might not be a popular option with your arms. On the upside, while clouds may hinder your view at Inspiration Point, they tend to break up here, giving a unique celestial feel. Reaching the cistern, your final turn is to head down for the last slippery but eventful half mile. The 1942 Mueller Tunnel is one of a kind in the San Gabriel Mountains, built a decade before the only other ones on the Angeles Crest Highway. For me, the magic is the atmosphere that is uniquely created by this closed-in canyon. Once you reach Mount Wilson Toll Road, that's pretty much the end. You can go 3 miles east to the observatory, where you can take about a 9-mile dirt road, Mount Wilson Toll Road down. Or to the west, you'll reach Red Box in a couple miles, where it's about a 13-mile descent down Andrews Crest Highway into La Cañada. Looking at my final stats, it was a little over 10 miles with about just under 4K feet of climbing. This is an epic ride, and everyone should do this at least once. Please subscribe to my channel, support us on Patreon, because there's lots of great rides out there I'd love to cover. I'll see you out there.